You hear these two wild stories about AI, right? On one hand, it's going to be our ticket to the stars, this amazing future. And on the other, it's a one-way trip to extinction. But what if that whole debate is just a giant distraction? Today, we're going to dig into how the huge, grand dream of AI might actually be hiding a much more real, present-day danger, the scammer who's already in your inbox.
So this is the dream. This is the big promise of what they call artificial general intelligence, or AGI. It's this incredible vision of the future where AI just solves everything. We're talking curing diseases, ending poverty, making us an interplanetary species. I mean, it's a full-on techno-utopia.
But, and this is where it gets kind of weird, the very same people who are promising us this starry future are also signing public statements that put their own creation in the same danger category as nuclear war. It's a really jarring contradiction, right? AGI is either going to be our savior or our very last invention.
And it's not just vague wordings either. You've got huge, high-profile figures literally putting odds on our potential doom. A 20% chance. So you've got these two completely extreme stories fighting for our attention. Ultimate salvation or total, complete annihilation.
After a while, this constant back and forth between utopia and apocalypse, it starts to sound less like a serious technology forecast and a little more like, well, just a story. So let's try asking a totally different question. What if this whole idea of AGI is less of an engineering challenge and more of a really powerful myth?
To really get what's going on here, we have to stop looking at AGI as just some future tech. We need to see it for what it's become, a belief system, almost like a faith, that has completely taken over the tech industry.
And check this out, the rise of this idea was just unbelievably fast. I mean, less than 20 years ago, AGI was a dirty word. You'd get eye rolls for even mentioning it at a serious conference. But then you get a few key companies like DeepMind and OpenAI, a couple of really influential books, and boom. It goes from this fringe kind of crackpot theory to the central mission of a multi-trillion-dollar industry.
Okay, so this is where it gets really fascinating. When you put the AGI narrative side by side with the classic traits of a conspiracy theory, whoa, the parallels are pretty startling. AGI is this slippery, constantly changing goal. Nobody can even agree on what it is, which makes it super flexible. You have this clear divide between the insiders who can feel the AGI and the rest of us. And of course, it has those huge promises of salvation or doom. But the most powerful trait, you literally can't prove it's wrong.
And that right there, that's the secret sauce. That's the killer feature of this belief system. See, when the predictions don't come true, believers just push the deadline back. Any evidence that we're not on the path to AGI just gets dismissed. The belief is completely immune to facts, because at the end of the day, you can't prove a negative. You can't prove it won't happen eventually.
Okay, so here's the bottom line. While all this energy, all this money, all this brain power is getting poured into this massive, kind of abstract quest for AGI, something else is happening, something very real. Scammers aren't waiting around for some hypothetical superintelligence. They're using the AI tools that exist right now to rip people off.
And that brings us to where the real AI revolution is actually taking place. And spoiler alert, it's not in some fancy lab with blinking lights. It's happening in your inbox. We're talking about AI-powered phishing.
So take a look at this. Right now, a pretty tiny fraction of malicious emails, less than 5%, are actually crafted by AI. And you might look at that number and think, okay, not a huge deal, I can relax. But that would be a really, really dangerous assumption. And here's why that little number is so scary. Just think back to QR code phishing. Remember that? In 2023, it went from being a basically non-existent threat to over a fifth of all phishing campaigns. And that happened in just 6 months. AI-powered phishing is on that exact same trajectory. We're in the quiet part right before the storm hits.
So what do these new attacks even look like? Let's pull back the curtain. We're going to deconstruct the modern cybercriminal's playbook, which is now completely supercharged by AI. So it all starts with an AI tool scraping the web for everything it can find about you. Your job title, your connections, you name it. Then another AI crafts this perfectly written, hyper-personalized email that uses flattery or urgency to get you to lower your guard. The link in the email takes you to a fake website, also spun up by an AI in just a few seconds. And it doesn't have to stop there. The attacker can then follow up with a cloned voice call from your boss, or even a deepfake video.
Okay, let's look at a real-world example. The first red flag is often the sender's address, maybe a generic Gmail account pretending to be from a big company.
But then the email itself is, wow, it's impressively specific. It's got details about your career that it probably ripped right off your LinkedIn profile. It uses these psychological tricks like flattery to make you feel good right before it presents the link to the track. So you click the link. The fake website might look slick, but the cracks start to show pretty fast if you know where to look. The website's address might end in something weird like .app or .xyz. A lot of the time, if you hunt around, you can even find a little link that says, Made with AI Website Builder. It's just a shell. The buttons for privacy policy or support, they do nothing. The photos of the team are AI-generated fakes, and the contact email is some anonymous, encrypted service.
Okay, we've seen how the trap is built. We've deconstructed the threat. Now for the most important part, how do you stay safe? Let's talk about building your personal AI defense strategy. This is basically your AI fake spotter's guide. Whether it's a voice on the phone or a video call, listen for anything that just sounds off. A robotic tone, weird pauses. Remember, AIs don't have to breathe. For video, look at the eyes. AI deepfakes often don't blink correctly or the lip sync is just a little bit wrong. But most importantly, trust your gut. Does the message feel urgent? Is the request totally out of character? Those context clues are your best defense.
Okay, so here it is, your personal protection playbook. It's simple, but it's powerful. Rule number 1, and I can't say this enough, verify, verify, verify. If you get an urgent request for money or info, stop, hang up, and contact that person through a different channel you know is real. Next, question everything. Be skeptical of any unexpected contact. Then, check the tech. Look for those tells like weird domain names and broken links. And finally, try to limit your exposure. Every public video or audio clip of you is just raw material for these scammers.
And that brings us full circle, doesn't it? Maybe the big conversation we should be having isn't about building a machine god or stopping a robot apocalypse. Maybe the real, urgent AI race is a lot more human. It's the race between the people building these amazing tools and the grifters who are busy weaponizing them. The real question is, are we focused on the right race?